Hi and welcome to Creating Cadence, a podcast for life and work in motion. I'm your host, Mich Bondesio, and I help high achievers, creative thinkers, and purpose-led founders and business owners to transform their approach to life, work, and business so they can activate more of their potential and make impactful change without burning out. The aim of the podcast is to explore how to work well and live well at a cadence that's more sustainable for us, despite this fast-paced world we live in. Its purpose is to challenge outdated ways of working and to champion fresh ideas around creativity, digital well-being, innovation, productivity, sustainability, work cultures, and the future of work. This is episode 84, the first of season 14, published in September 2025. And the theme for this season of the podcast is rewriting the rules of work. In the last season, we explored sustainable business approaches and regenerative flexible working practices. And this season, we're focusing on some specific topics within that broader field. This episode is an introduction on these topics and what to expect this season. But before we get there, after a long summer break from the podcast, I've got some news and updates to share. So it's been a lovely summer in the northwest of England. If you're listening in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you've had a good summer too. And if you're in a colder part of the world, I hope that your winter was bearable. In my realms of work, over summer, things with my clients typically tend to slow down, which provides me with the space to work on my business instead of in it, and to slow the cadence to enable a more gentle rhythm to my workflow. Traditionally, I also take a content and communication sabbatical over summer, so I tend to spend less time on social media, and I keep meetings to a minimum, and I create the space for me to do more focused, creative, and strategic work for my business instead. But for the last 6 weeks during the summer slowdown, I've done something slightly different to what I usually do, in that I've been trialing a 4-day work week. If you've listened to any of the past episodes from recent seasons, you'll know that I'm a huge advocate of 4-day working cycles as an option to consider when implementing more flexible working practices. But as an entrepreneur, I unfortunately don't always get to work this way myself. But this summer was a good opportunity to experiment with it. So during the trial, I was using my Fridays to go hiking in the Lake District. These excursions have been a combination of research for creative writing work, which I'll share about later, as well as opportunities for adventure, active rest, and physical exercise for my well-being. But they've also served as an opportunity to create space for valuable thinking time. So I found that these hikes actually became an important part of my workflow, just a different type or style of working, if you will. And despite knowing that there are lots of benefits to 4-day working, the results of my personal trial have been nothing short of revelatory for me. Before I started, my plate had been very full, and I actually felt quite close to burnout at the start of summer. So not only has this time out of the office been good for my mental and physical health and well-being, and for recharging my business brain, but it has also been incredibly good for my productivity and creative output. What I've found is that on the other 4 days in the office, my outputs have been literally through the roof. I've had so much energy that I find I can work for longer without getting tired. And alongside my existing client work, this energy has enabled me to do an enormous amount of strategic research and preparation and to develop and launch some new things. So what are these new things? The first is that I officially launched my Creating Cadence Substack, where I'm diving deeper on the topics that we cover on the podcast. I've had my Substack for over 2 years, but I was a bit skeptical about how to use it in my business, so I hadn't really done much with it. But with the time and space to think more deeply about my motivations for my business going forward, I finally found the right path for me to follow on Substack. And to date, I've published 5 articles, and I've been surprised by how much I'm actually loving it and the creative freedom that it enables me. So you can read more about the journey through my articles and subscribe at creatingcadence.substack.com, and I'll share the link to that in the show notes. The second thing that I've done during this incredibly productive 6 weeks is that I've also created 3 helpful online masterclasses that I'll be running during October 2025. These are powerful, practical webinars designed for high-achieving strivers who are done with the grind and ready to work with more intention. Each session is going to offer focused, actionable strategies to help you reclaim your energy, protect your thinking time, and scale sustainably without sacrificing your well-being. Whether you join one or all 3, you'll gain fresh insights, regenerative tools, and a clearer path to creating more space for meaningful, sustainable success, so that you can keep striving and scaling over the long run without losing your sanity. Now, these webinars are geared towards tech founders, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders, and creative thinkers. I'll share the Eventbrite link in the show notes, but you can also find out more about these events and book on at cadence-masterclasses-october2025.eventbrite.co.uk. These sessions will be running on Mondays during October from 6 p.m. UK time for approximately 90 minutes. You can choose to attend one of the sessions or all three, and if you book on for all three at once, you can save 25% on what you would have paid for 3 individual tickets. And if you can't attend live, you'll get a recording alongside the session resources. So full disclosure, these webinars are linked to a Cadence Catalyst 8-week mastermind program that's going to be launching in November, and they will offer a taste of the type of work that we'll be doing during that program. But these masterclasses will also be of benefit as standalone learning sessions for you, if you're not interested in something as involved as the mastermind program. The third thing that I've done this summer relates to a side project that I first announced as a goal way back in my January newsletter. That goal is to write and publish a series of fiction stories. For those of you who don't know, I am already the author of a self-published business book. Check out thecadenceeffect.com. And with my background in comms and having done a degree in English and psychology and a postgrad in journalism way back when, and subsequent short courses in creative writing, it's been on my bucket list for a very, very long time to write some fiction. So during summer, I adjusted my daily workflow to make space for this project. I've been getting up early to write for 2 hours before I start my workday, and I'm really excited to say that I've just completed the first draft of my first story. I won't reveal any more at this point because from experience I know that the first draft is just a small part of what goes into writing, publishing, and marketing and selling a book. It's a multi-layered, multi-step process and a whole business in itself. So this side project is a long-tail project, and there's lots more to do before I'm ready to share more publicly. But I wanted to share a little bit about this project's journey because this is all an example of just how creative and productive I've been able to be as a result of A, not working on Fridays, and B, using that time to reconnect my body and mind with the natural world. And this is more important than people may realize. I've just recently read a Guardian article where a psychologist and researcher has shared how we're losing our connection to nature, and that nature connection is super important for several reasons. It does support our health and well-being, but it also supports our productivity and our creativity, and there's research and studies to back this up. But what's also happening because our experience of nature connection is reducing, that's also affecting our vocabulary for describing nature. We are losing the ability to reference nature because we are not using the words to describe it because we're not spending time in nature. So there are lots of repercussions for this, and that's why I've been experimenting with spending lengthy time in nature every Friday for the last 6 weeks. And as I've explained, the benefits of spending that time in nature have been multiplied in terms of how prolific I've been with my outputs. So at the start of September, it's now back to 5-day working, and I'm feeling charged up after my summer and ready to dive into the last quarter of the year and the work that it brings. Which brings me to the topic of this introductory episode, which is all about rewriting the rules of work. What follows is a summary of our theme for the season and what to expect. So if you're ready, let's dive in. In Season 14 of the Creating Cadence podcast, we're challenging the outdated frameworks that define how we currently work, lead, and build businesses. The world has changed, and it's time our rules of work changed too. So what do I mean by rewriting the rules of work? This is about reimagining the purpose, pace, and patterns of work in ways that support people, protect the planet, and still generate meaningful profit. It's a response to the growing realization that traditional work norms rooted in industrial age thinking are no longer compatible with the multi-layered complexity and urgency of today's world. But this is not just about iterating on old systems, it's about designing new ones. Systems that regenerate instead of extract, that adapt instead of control, that value the quality of our energy and input, not just the quantity of output. But to consider the new rules, we first need to understand what the old rules meant. So, what were the old rules that are no longer fit for purpose? The first concept revolves around this idea that productivity equates to busyness and output. The second is that success is only possible with hustle, control, and sacrifice. The third is that leadership is a top-down power, not a shared responsibility. The fourth, that growth needs to be infinite, regardless of the cost to people or planet. And the fifth is that wellness is our personal problem, not a company priority. These norms have created burnout cultures, short-term thinking, toxic leadership, and widespread disengagement. They've resulted in us treating humans like machines and ignoring the consequences of depletion, both ecological and emotional. So it's obvious to me, but let's go there, why are these rules no longer fit for purpose? Because they're collapsing under the weight of four things in particular. The first is burnout epidemics and record levels of workplace stress. There are numerous surveys of the current state of the modern workplace that support this, including recent reports from Gallup, McKinsey, Microsoft, and MBO partners. The second reason is the ecological crises, forcing rapid adaptation to new resource constraints. Building and running sustainable businesses is no longer a nice-to-have, and I went into a lot more detail about this topic in Season 11 of the podcast. That's episodes 66 to 71 if you want to dive deeper. The third thing that's forcing a change in our rules for work is no surprise. It's AI and the rapid associated technological accelerations that are demanding more flexible, creative, and ethical approaches to work, as well as a rethink about what our work actually involves. And the fourth element is that of societal cultural shifts, which are starting to prioritize values, purpose, inclusion, and care. Post-pandemic, our values, needs, and requirements have changed. We lead multi-layered lives, and work has to fit in and around our needs in order for us to be able to deliver to our best potential. As business owners and leaders, we no longer have the luxury of pretending it's business as usual. The future is already knocking, and it's demanding that we adapt and change our rules of engagement. So what might the new rules of work look like? For this season of the Creating Cadence podcast, we're going to explore 3 powerful paradigm shifts which are key levers for rewriting our rules of work. The first is the Chief Energy Officer. This is about redefining leadership for a new era. The future-ready CEO isn't just a chief executive, they're a chief energy officer. They steward energy across their team and business systems, not just for performance, but for resilience. They model sustainable rhythms, create psychological safety, and lead with emotional intelligence. But this isn't just about having one chief energy officer. This is about how each of us in an organization can be our own chief energy officer. Why is this important? Because when people are energized, they don't just perform better, they also create and collaborate better. And they stay within your organization and lead instead of leaving. And we need role models who don't just lead, but help to create a movement, one rooted in energy and well-being. The second level that we're going to explore is the concept of productivity that replenishes. This is about letting go of toxic hustle. The idea of circular productivity or regenerative productivity moves us away from endless output towards intentional, capacity-building workflows. It's about designing work styles around human energy cycles, not forcing humans into rigid schedules. It's about creating workflows that are suitable and flexible enough for both neurodivergent and neurotypical tendencies that promote accessibility and support diversity of culture and thinking. When the way that we have to work depletes us, we burn out, and burnout is expensive for businesses. Our humanness and creativity are going to be important bastions of our usefulness within organizations going forward. And humans in their diversity and their creativity need flexible systems and cycles that facilitate recovery over endless output. The third lever we're going to look at is designing business for a changing planet. This is about making sustainability a strategy, not a slogan. Because as Mark Shaler said in episode 77, we can't build thriving businesses on a dying planet. Implementing more regenerative business models embeds environmental and social stewardship into core operations, from your supplier choices to your digital practices. And while certifications can be helpful, you don't need to be a B Corp certified business or certified in ISO 14000 and something to still be able to do the right thing. Because every founder has the power to future-proof their business and contribute to a more livable world. So whether you're a tech founder or a small business owner or a corporate exec, why does this matter now? And why do you need to be changing the rules of work in your organization or business? Getting involved in helping to create systems change around our rules of work is important because the people that you want to work with as employees, clients, and collaborators are already choosing businesses that embody these principles. The companies and founders who rewrite the rules now will be the ones who attract loyalty, inspire trust, and withstand disruption in the years to come. This isn't about being perfect. It's about aiming to be better on purpose, one step at a time. And that's the purpose of this podcast, to help you think about ways that you can do that. 3 of this season's episodes will be educational monologues looking at these 3 levers of the Chief Energy Officer, regenerative productivity, and designing business for the planet. And to help guide us in this season, there are also 3 interviews with interesting guests who are specialists in their field. I have the pleasure of speaking to a positive psychology practitioner and coach who works with female founders and who recently co-authored a report about female founder burnout. I'll also be talking to a sustainability specialist and neurodiverse business owner who is the co-founder of an organization that helps businesses take practical, measurable steps towards sustainability. And I'll also chat with a behavior strategist and anthropologist who helps people to create positive change through the vehicles of mindfulness and storytelling. I think it's going to be an interesting season, so do stick around. The next episode lands next week, and then we'll be back every 2 weeks as per our usual podcast publishing cycle. So until then, keep moving forwards with courage, curiosity, and cadence. And a few quick things before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to my new Substack channel for a deeper dive on building more conscious business. That's at creatingcadence.substack.com. And check out the 3 masterclasses that I'm running during October. You can find out more and book on via the link cadence-masterclasses-october2025.eventbrite.co.uk. If you like the show, please share the love by rating it where you listen to it and telling all your friends. You can find out more about what I do at creatingcadence.co, and you can buy my book at thecadenceeffect.com. If you're interested in being a sponsor for the podcast and you have a product or service that aligns with the ethos of Creating Cadence, intentional productivity, sustainable business, or regenerative working practices, then drop us a line at hello@creatingcadence.co so we can have a chat. The podcast is hosted on Acast and available wherever you listen to your pods, including YouTube. It's edited on Descript, and the current music track is from Blue Dot Sessions. Until next time, bye for now.